I really wanted to do a test of how I can scale my own brand of skincare with my own store. Like I was doing so well with that at the other retail store. I want to do it. I want to prove to myself, like, can I do this? So it was more of a challenge for me, and I know I can do it. I can scale this to 50 different stores. That was my vision.
Welcome to Empowerista, female entrepreneurs finding freedom and fulfillment in their life and career. I'm your host, Alex Worley, the founder and CEO of Empowerista, an award-winning producer and national TV host, seen on platforms like Business Rockstars, Entrepreneur.com, and Amazon Prime. I am so excited to share my candid conversations with successful women as they reveal the tips and truths they've learned on their entrepreneurial journey. My guest today, Kate Hancock, is the founder and CEO of the OC Facial Center, an award-winning spa in Bintana Sa Paraiso, a boutique hotel in her home country, the Philippines. Kate now lives in the United States and describes her entrepreneurial journey as the American dream, going from earning minimum wage to being named to the Inc. 5000 list with one of the fastest growing companies 2 years in a row. During our conversation, she explains how she built a 7-figure business with just $20 in initial startup costs, her secrets to managing a team across the globe, and how her brick and mortar and e-commerce business models complement each other. Let's take a listen. Thanks so much for being here.
I'm so honored to be here, Alex.
I'm excited to dive into your story because you describe it, and rightfully so, as the American dream. You grew up in the Philippines. You came to the U.S. You started your business with $20, and you've scaled it to be on the Inc. 5000 list, to be a multi-million-dollar company or entrepreneur. So tell me how that happened. Take me back to the beginning, and what was that spark within you that even made you want to make that move and become an entrepreneur?
Yeah, it started, I actually used to work for a skincare line, and I was in Austin at Costco, and it was a boring day. It was dead. So I started scanning products online, any clearance at Costco, and I started selling it online. And the first day, I sold about 5. So after work, I went to Staples, bought a tape and a box, and I started at $20. And it's amazing how it grew over $1 million in 2 years. So after I was still working at my job at that time, I think within a year, I've decided I can't do both. I was packing and shipping in my car during my lunch hour. It's like, I can't do it. It's not fair for my job. I can't focus it anymore. So I started focusing my business.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So I want to make sure I'm understanding this correctly. You were basically sourcing different products that you were probably getting at a really good price. And then you were raising the price and making a profit on them because they were curated and you were selling them online. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes.
There's a name for that. What is it called? I want to say product arbitrage.
Yes,
is that the name?
Yeah. I started with Amazon. That's how I started in the beginning.
That's a big business. And I'm sure you were probably on the forefront of that
Yes, it was
trend.
2012 when the competition is not that much. And it was it's literally, I was in the right time.
Yeah,
right
timing's
place,
a big thing. I admittedly don't know that much about that business model. I know Gary Vaynerchuk, obviously successful serial entrepreneur, he says that is still very much so a viable business model. And so like some people will go to garage sales or Goodwill or, go to, Target clearance. And then, they'll raise their prices, sell on Amazon. So that's what you did. And you did it in the beginning and you did it with $20.
Yes.
And you were working for another company and it got so big. What was your reaction when you built it into $1 million company?
It was like, I don't know what to do with it. And I was looking at my bank account, like, what am I going to do with this money? Like, I was shocked. Like, I've never had that much money in my life. And it was like, well, I have this opportunity. I'm going to make it work. And that was my drive. I grew up very poor in the Philippines. And it's like land in my life. I got to make it right. So I took I took it seriously, and I literally couldn't sleep. I'm just packing and shipping, and I remember my neighbor back at that time, she would complain she couldn't sleep because she could hear me like cracking the tape and packaging in my garage. So after that, I've decided to rent my small office because I need to be, I can't, keep on bothering my neighbor because I'm packing and shipping at 1:00 in the morning.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I was addicted to it. It was such a big opportunity for me, and I can't let it pass. So I did it.
That's incredible, because you said that you grew up poor, and a lot of times when people first come into money, I mean, that's really overwhelming, and it can be like, what do I do with all this money? I guess I'm going to spend it, and they find out very quickly that $1 million can go very fast. But you obviously, it speaks to how smart of a businesswoman you just innately were, even though this was new to you, that you clearly had this larger vision of how to reinvest this. So tell me about what your plan was at the time to take it next level.
Well, I really love spa and skincare, so I've decided to open a small skincare boutique where we help a lot of teenagers with acne, and then we after 2.5 years, and we build our second one. It's in a bigger retail. And I used to work for a big retail store, and I always loved selling in a cosmetics department. So I kind of like that environment. And so when I opened my second one, like, oh my God, this used to be my dream of selling skincare and have my own store. So it was such a great feeling. Like, I'm still shocked. Like, how did I, build all this? Like, up to now, I still can't believe it.
Every once in a while, do you ever feel imposter syndrome, like so many of us women do, where you feel like, what did I do to earn this? How did I get here? And kind of feel that self-doubt, or would you consider yourself a really, really confident person?
I am confident. Sometimes I do feel that. Once in a while, like, what the heck happened? Like, It's just there. But I know that when I work hard, I can make it happen. My family is the same. They were a great role model for me in the Philippines. I grew up with a family business where my grandmother has a secret recipe of a pastry. And we used to be just a family making a dozen, and now they have a really good infrastructure of it built into a large corporation. So
interesting.
Yes.
So they've seen a lot of success.
Yes.
But it sounds like that success didn't come when you were growing up. It was maybe more in recent years.
Yes. But I was part of that. I started working at a very early age, like 10 or 12. And I remember my grandmother is very strict. Like, once you're done with your task, you have to do the next one. So I'm doing the same thing with my business. Like, I don't rest, which is kind of bad at the same time. But like, okay, I'm done with this one. I'm going to do that. Like, I literally did everything for the first 3 years by myself.
Wow. And how did that work for you? Like, during this time, were you feeling stressed? Were you happy? Were you running on adrenaline? Like, how did that work for you?
It was good because I was all excited, but at the same time, after 3 years, it's not very healthy what I was doing. I can't scale with just me doing everything. So I decided to hire a staff. And in the beginning, it's hard for me to trust that person. Like, can he really do what I did? But I let that control go, and like, I'm so much happier person. Yeah. Because I need some sleep. Like, I was not very nice to myself because I just want to build. But I did, I reset and travel at the same time, and that is fun for me. Like, I would work for 3 months straight, and then I will go travel to a fun place, and I go back. So that is like my zen.
That's
traveling.
Fun.
Yes.
And do you still do that?
Yeah, I still do that.
Oh, that's great. And yeah, I mean, to your point, you really need a team that you can trust that can run the company when you're out having fun and traveling. So I want to go back to when you were doing this e-commerce business, and then you opened a brick and mortar store. as you mentioned. And that's interesting because a lot of people do the reverse. A lot of people open a brick and mortar and then they start a digital business because it allows them to scale and to be there less. So tell me about the decision to actually open a brick and mortar.
I really wanted to do a test of how I can scale my own brand of skincare with my own store. Like I was doing so well with that at the other retail store. I want to do it. I want to prove it myself. Like, can I do this? So it was more of a challenge for me. And I know I can scale this to 50 different stores. That was my vision.
It excited you.
Yeah, I was very excited.
And it's probably a really good way to get customer feedback and to know what's working in real time, and then to scale that through either opening more stores or to do what I know you've also done, and that is to also sell those products online. So can you tell me how the two work together, how maybe your brick and mortar helps your online business and vice versa?
Yeah, I like the brick and mortar concept because I could have a good relationship to my community, and then they would tell their friends and family about us. Like, you have that one-on-one connection with your customer. It's just hard to achieve that online. You just don't.
Yeah, there's nothing like seeing someone face to face and building that relationship. We all still crave that authentic connection, and there's nothing like being able to test a product, in person, versus just taking a leap of faith, ordering it, having it arrive. You may like it, you may not. You really, as an entrepreneur, get that instant feedback and connection with your customer.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know their reaction, how they feel, and it's just like that human connection, and having a community that support you too as a small business and a female founder, and it's great. And
does it help you know what to sell online?
Yes, absolutely.
Hey, super quick, if this episode is inspiring you, I'd be so very grateful if you did any or all of the following. Subscribe to the podcast, review the podcast, or take a screenshot of this episode and post it to your Instagram stories and tag @Empowerista so I can share your post. Your support seriously means so much and will allow me to continue making episodes. Yeah, that's great. And so a lot of people think that if you have a brick and mortar, you're going to be tied to that business. You have to be there in person every single day. There is that common, and maybe there's some truth in it. I've never had a brick and mortar business, but you are a very good example of that. There are at least exceptions to the rule, that you're obviously not there in person every single day. So how have you built a team and business model to allow you to not be there every day?
Yeah, so I'm very selective to my staff, and I'm really the first 2 weeks of training them, I'm there. Like, I know how to train them to get better, so they can
replicate it.
Yes.
Yeah. So you're very deliberate in the onboarding process.
Correct.
And you feel like that's really important for you to be there for that, and for you to be the ones training them.
Absolutely. And I've created series of videos so they can just watch it, and then we do a lot of role play, and that's helpful a lot. And then after 2 weeks, then I don't have to be there.
Nice. Okay, so is there anything about your onboarding process that maybe an entrepreneur wouldn't think about doing that you have found to be very helpful to set your employees up for success?
Yeah. All my training are based to what works for me when I was there on the floor selling to my customer. Like, building the rapport is very important, and being genuine and really servicing the customer what they really need for their skin. I think that's the key. Or just by just asking a question.
Yeah, customer service that a lot of times we lack in this digital era, but customers still really crave that. It goes back to that connection and relationship piece, and feeling like you're being understood and your individual needs are being heard. And I'm sure that since you were on that side of it, like you were in the weeds and doing the face-to-face with the customer, you really learned the art of doing that, which allows you to teach your employees that.
Absolutely.
So you are in the process of building a business in the Philippines, where you're from. Yes. Wow, that's really far away. Tell me about, first of all, what was the inspiration?
Well, it's crazy. I actually started with just one vacation room, and I listed it in an Airbnb about 2.5 years ago. So it was just a one tiki hut with a pool. And so I started listing in Airbnb, and then I've noticed like I keep on declining guests, and I'm booked 6 months in advance. So I started building a second room, and then the fourth room, and then I don't have enough room. And so I opened my second one in the mountain resort, and we have 12 rooms, and we're booked 6 months in advance. So like I'm data driven person. When I look at analytics, like, okay, there's some big opportunity, then that's when I put my gas, like full force. And then I keep on building it. And now I'm just excited to build a third one.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, to your point, when you pay attention to the numbers and what's in demand, then you kind of get directed to where you should be focusing your attention as an entrepreneur. And it sounds like you slowly and organically built that, and now it's bigger and you're leading a team remotely. This is kind of the theme for you, right? You get to either be here traveling the world, and you get to manage remotely. I know that you talked about the onboarding process. Anything else that you can say about effectively managing remote employees and how to make sure that there's accountability, of course, but still empowerment for them to do their best?
You know, it's crazy. When I started my e-commerce business, I started hiring a lot of VAs. So they were my employee. A lot of them
virtual assistants.
Yes, a lot of them are still my employee at the resort. Like I transitioned them from e-commerce to running the resort. And I've used social media. I don't know Slacks at that time. And so I use Facebook groups, and that's where I give them instruction, and everyone like do Q&A and this and there. This is what you need to do. So I've utilized Facebook group and Facebook Messenger because that's how I can communicate to them. And I still do.
Interesting. Okay, so you have your employees join the Facebook group, and so you talk to them through the Facebook group and through Facebook Messenger. So that's been a really streamlined way of communicating with them.
Yes.
In the Facebook group, what kind of things are you posting?
Like a lot of instruction, like processes and procedure. I'm very big in culture. Mm-hmm. Like my goal in the Philippines, I wanted to build a company where it's the best place to work. Like I really wanted to have that culture of like everyone is open. It's very hard to work there. Like I used to be an employee there where you don't really have a voice, and that's really big for me. Like everyone can be creative. I want that open communication to everyone, no matter who they are, from the housekeeping crew to our manager. Like we all have a voice.
Yeah. So it sounds like you use your Facebook group to not only give them information, but to also receive information and input, and that's a great way of you empowering them.
Yes. So sometimes, like if I'm busy here because we're in a different time zone, I would just create a video and greeting them, and like that's how we communicate.
So I know that you're a big believer in videos, whether it's for communicating with your employees or even customers through customer testimonials, demonstrations. Can you give me some examples of how you're utilizing video?
Yeah. So, for example, to my team in the Philippines, I would utilize the storytelling technique. This is what our consumer, like how they feel, and this is what you should do. So that's how I train them. This is the right thing to do, or, this is our goal. Like this is who we are. This is what we are all about. So I would explain it to them, like that's our end goal, because not everyone knows.
So kind of connecting them to the larger vision.
Correct.
That's a really big thing, and there's no better way to communicate it than a real person talking to them, and by the way, that person being the founder and the top person, and looking at them and saying, hey, you're a part of this, and having them have buy-in, and showing them kind of what their purpose and their role is to creating a larger vision, which I think makes going to work every day probably more enjoyable.
Yes. Like I have to explain. I mean, they all know that every one of them is as important as the one higher up. Like I am part of them.
Yeah.
Like everyone's task is important.
That's great. And what kind of response do you receive? Do you feel like they are more bought in, they're more passionate, they work harder?
Yes, they work harder. They're there selling the vision to our customer, their storytelling. So that's such a great, positive impact to our staff.
Yeah, and they're probably aware of your success story and therefore able to communicate that to the customer as well.
Yes, absolutely.
So it ultimately positively impacts the customer. They feel connected to you even though you're across the world.
Yes.
And it probably makes them want to tell all their friends or come back themselves. So there's this whole circular thing that happens where everyone really benefits from being, positive and being bought into this greater vision.
Yeah, we call each other. We have our name. We are shortcut of Bintana Sa Paraiso is BSP, so we're like BSP tribe. We are a tribe.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, so everyone is part of a tribe. So that was really great.
Yeah. So tell me how you have incorporated videos into your customer communication.
Yeah, so I really use storytelling technique a lot, and I would explain to my customer who we really are, why we're doing this, what is our vision to our company, and that really connect to them in a personal level, where sometimes I would get a personal message from a guest that like, I've seen your video, and the connection is there even though I'm 7,000 miles away.
Yeah, that's incredible. And then where are these videos? Probably website,
Facebook, or Instagram. I've been utilizing the social media platform.
Yeah, and testimonials are huge. I know a lot of times you'll get video testimonials, and then you can see the authenticity come through because, anything you're reading, you're like, oh, that could have been fudged a little bit, or maybe that person was just being extra nice. But when you can see a customer talking about something they're excited about, it's not just verbal, it's the excitement in their eyes and their body language. So what a genius way of just these extra touches that make it more personal, especially when there's that barrier of distance. You're finding a way to get closer to your customer. And I know before we started chatting through this interview, you were talking about how there's a lot of opportunity that's untapped in other countries, non-US countries, especially in Philippines where you're from, at least, that you're seeing to tap into Facebook ads and these other digital marketing techniques that maybe aren't quite as mainstream or popular in those countries or the Philippines. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I've noticed it's way harder to get your audience here. It's way expensive in the US. But in the Philippines, I could just post a video and I will have like 5,000 views and 5,000 share. Like, how is that I can't? This is like a dream.
Yeah.
So it's like and that's why I'm so positive on scaling that business side, because it's so like affordable to run ads and my reach is just crazy. I've never seen that data. So that really gets me excited. Like I said, I'm a data-driven person. I'm like, this is so much easy. I don't have to pay for a big company for marketing ads. Like, I just did it. Like, I just do my own test, and it's exciting for me. Like, wow, there's so much opportunity doing it in a different country, and especially in Asia, where millennials are just love to share videos and stories, and it's just, I feel like it's such a gold mine. It's crazy for you not to do it. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah, wow, yeah. So that's an interesting thing to think about as an entrepreneur of, what maybe markets can you tap into that are being underserved and would really benefit from your products or services.
Yeah.
Great key takeaway. Love it. And it's got to feel really good to give back to your home country and to employ people and just be a part of a culture that you're so passionate about, right?
Yes, that's actually one of my mission is to really help and develop local talents and give them an opportunity. 2 months ago, I sent our top employee to Singapore, and they stayed at the Four Seasons. I want them to experience how it is being taken care of. Mm-hmm. That's the best training that they could ever have, is experience it themselves. So we do it every year, and they're very excited.
That's so cool. And I'm sure it is that intangible thing that motivates you so much as an entrepreneur, because there are so many ups and downs in entrepreneurship. So when you can do something that excites you and that just lights you up, motivates you, makes you feel good, it just helps you go the long run and really sustain and build, beautiful businesses as you have. So thank you so much for sharing your story and all your tips and tricks. And I'm just blown away by your journey. It's really, really cool. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Alex.
Well, that's it for today's show. If you're loving this podcast, don't forget to subscribe so we can meet again next week, same time, same place. Thank you so much for listening and have an amazing week.